This meeting on November 8th is called to order. Since we are here, do we need establishment of a quorum? Since we're not on video? We're missing Darren.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely up to you how official you want to, if you want
I
to
think we're fine.
roll call out. So
Take note
absent, we'll
that
just make note that
Darren is not here.
student trustee Alyssa Samaripa is absent. And she won't be able to attend the meeting.
Oh, at all in the evening either?
Transportation issues.
Okay,
And then trustee Garrett will be absent as well.
okay.
Quorum is established.
Thank you. We are at 1.3. Do we have any statements of conflict? I know you have one for later. So do you want to, why don't you say something at 5:30? All right, are there any public comments from the invisible people here?
It's the right day and the right time.
I don't know, it's weird. All right, so we have no public comments. So we will recess to closed session. 2.1, we'll be discussing discipline dismissal release complaint. 2.2 is labor negotiations with CSEA. 2.3 is labor negotiations with YFA. 2.4 is anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel, and 2.5 is conference with labor negotiators, unrepresented employees. And then we have also 2.6, which is an update on the presidential search. And I think that's where we are. All right. You guys ready? We are back. All right, so this meeting is called to order at 5:39. Jenny, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you very much. I know that it's obvious that we have a quorum. Trustee Garrett is away at a conference, I believe.
Yes, and student trustee Alyssa Samaripa was unable to. Student trustee Alyssa Samaripa is also absent at this.
Thank you. Is unable to attend today. All right, there is no report out from closed session. Are there any of statements of conflict at this time? Trustee Hinton?
I will not be in for the vote on 7.5. I have a conflict.
Thank you very much. All right, are there any changes in the order of business? We're up to 3.7, approval of minutes of the September 13th, 2023 Board of Trustees special meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Did you catch the first and second?
I did. Give me one moment.
Okay.
I'm having some computer difficulties here.
And I'm going to abstain.
Would you like me to take a roll call vote or?
How about all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention? Next up is 3.8, approval of minutes of the September 13th Board of Trustees regular meeting.
So moved.
First is Nancy. I need a second. Second from Don. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 3.9, approval of minutes of the October 13th, 2023 Board of Trustees special meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
From Jenny. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? No abstentions? We are up to 3.10. Approval of minutes of the October 18th Board of Trustees special meeting.
So moved.
I have a first from Jenny. Who said that? Antonio said second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
One abstention
Yes.
from Trustee Davis. Thank you.
5 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carries.
All right, we're up to 3.11, public comments. Do we have any public comments?
There were no cards received.
Okay, thank you. It's weird to look up and see blank screens now. Okay, so we are up to 4.1, the Board Finance Committee report. Is somebody giving that report for Trustee Garrett?
Only report is the district budget is in good shape and enrollment is doing terrific, so it was a very positive report.
Excellent. Any comments or questions on that? Okay. Board Policy Committee report. We'll go to Trustee Hinton.
Yes, we met on Monday. And thank you to our guests that were there with input. Aisha and Giselle were there to give us wonderful input on some of the policies. And tonight we're just having a first reading, so we won't be voting on anything, but I hope that those on the dais will agree with our
Recommendation.
yes, thank you.
Okay. So now let's go to reports and information items. The first one is 5.1 is a presentation from Cambridge Academies. They'll give us an overview of their College Assistant Migrant Program Camp and share highlights of campus activities, student services, and student testimonies. Hi.
Hi. Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Boyer. I'm the Executive Director of Cambridge Academies, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with each of you very briefly what we do and our partnership with Modesto Junior College. We are Cambridge Academies is, oh yeah. Okay, there.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Cambridge Academies is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2004, and our purpose is to help individuals that need a hand up, whether they come from low income, minority populations, just anybody that needs a hand up. And that's kind of what that's the purpose of our organization. One of our programs is the College Assistance Migrant Program that was funded by the U.S. Department of Education on July 1st of this year. And the purpose is to support 35 full-time first-year students that come from agricultural families, students that need help, just getting through the first year. It's a first generation, helping that first generation start a new path in life. Our target, we have high targets, federal targets, 86% of the students are to complete the first year of college. Our goal is 100%, but our target is, our metrics are 86%. We have a GED program for families, and we've had from 80 to 90% passing rate every year. And so we are confident that we will be able to reach the goal. We have to. And then the second metric is that those students that complete that first year would enroll the second year and continue their career. So what do we do? Our on-campus services is whatever we need to do to get the students to complete the year. It could be coaching, family involvement, referrals to support system, to organization. And the point is to just help them and to be there alongside. We have staff, and we have recruited 35 students, and we are just helping them with gas cards, just encouragement, and you're going to hear from 2 of them just to see a face. And so this is what we do. And very briefly, we want to show you first a video, and then you're going to hear from a couple of the students. So now this. Please do.
Yes.
Just to give you an overview of what we have.
My name is Andrea Diaz. I am from Modesto, and currently I'm undecided, but I am looking between business and art, probably web design or some sort of journalism.
Hi, my name is Juan Diego Gonzalez. I'm majoring in biology here at MJC. And what inspired me to become a biology major was my mother. And what I'm trying to do in the future is become a doctor and specialize in neurosurgery.
My name is Liza Megaventas, and I major in computer science. I choose computer science because growing up, I've always loved computer and technologies, and now I just want to be part of it.
I am David Diaz, and I'm majoring in computer graphics, and it's because I love art and fashions.
Hi, my name is Leslie Sandoval. I'm majoring in natural sciences because I want to help people.
Hello, my name is Angel Gonzalez, and I'm thinking of majoring in either physics or astrophysics. And I chose this major because I really enjoy the topic. It's fascinating.
Hi, well, me llamo Maria Rojas. I'm from Modesto, California. My major is in natural science.
Hi, my name is Karina Castro, and I'm here at MJC starting my nursing career. As a single mom, I'm really excited to start. And I just love helping people, so I think I would make a great nurse.
We are very excited to have all these students have just enroll in school and have a good experience. So I'd like to hear from 2 of our students, and we start with Juan Diego Gonzalez. And please introduce yourself. And
That's okay?
yeah, just talk.
Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Juan Diego Gonzalez. I was originally born in Turlock, California, but shortly after I was born, I was moved to Huascato, Jalisco, Mexico. And it was there that I grew up. However, growing up, I was between the 2 countries. And in doing that, I was able to absorb the cultures of both America and Mexico. And it plays heavily into my identity today. I was able to qualify for the camp program here at MJC, thanks to my grandfather, who works as an irrigator at Ocean Mist Farms in Salinas, California. And throughout the semester, one of the principles that has carried me from camp is persisting without exception. I had faced adversity at every turn through this first semester. And even then, thanks to the support that I get from this program, I was able to push through and excel. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next student is Maria Rojas.
Buenas tardes. My name's Maria Rojas. I'm from Modesto, California, but my roots are from Guerrero, Mexico. I was raised by hardworking parents who sacrificed their lives in Mexico so that their children can have a future in the U.S. Growing up in a household full of immigrants working in the fields, which was I was able to qualify for camp. It was difficult, especially when I stepped out into the real world, because I was hit with multiple layers of oppression. Camp helped me discover that I am not alone in the marginality. Being a camp gives me a sense of empowerment just by getting to socialize with other students who have similar life stories, listening to how arguments are made and are framed against us, and learning how to defend ourselves and help ourselves. One of the principles that I learned at camp is the buck stops here, which to me translates to not letting the past define me, take responsibility for my actions, and taking control of my future. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We have much more to talk about, but time is short. So I appreciate your, the opportunity that we have to partner with you to help these wonderful individuals achieve success in school. Thank you.
Thank you. Should have asked, were there any questions? Nope. Okay. All right, let's go on to the MJC Foundation. Welcome, Emily.
Good evening, Chancellor Young, President Beggs. You should be getting a copy of the Foundation's most recent strategic plan. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about from strategic planning to student support. So at a glance, just some highlight information. Our Centennial campaign wrapped up with about $10.4 million. Keep an eye out, just after the first of the year, we will be unveiling our donor wall on campus, recognizing and celebrating and appreciating those who contributed to the Centennial campaign. I'll talk about some endowment funding a little bit later, but we've received a couple of endowments recently that will allow us to do some fantastic things and really show some tremendous student support. And our scholarship, the 25% there, I will talk about again in more detail, is sort of a small percentage and one of the areas of focus after a first year with the foundation, letting me know what there is that needs to be worked on. We are a Students First Foundation, and that is something that we have designed our strategic plan to align with that idea and that sentiment. The strategic plan you have in front of you, we created 3 pillars. Our first pillar, philanthropic giving. And as part of that, for the first year's goals, what we decided to do, and one of the critical pieces that we were sort of missing in the foundation that was a rather weak area, is our scholarship applications. We are fortunate to have a good number of scholarship dollars that we can give out annually, but we noticed that there was a small percentage of students who are actually applying. So we have created a number of things to reach out to students on a variety of different levels. One of the things that we've just created and launched is an application video. So the video takes students step by step through the application process so that they understand how they do it. We know there are 2 tripping points for students. We know they get tripped up with the essay writing, and we know they get tripped up with asking teachers for recommendations and asking community members for recommendations. So we are attempting to put some things in place to alleviate some of that anxiety. One of the things, we've got some new campus signage, and we've also set up some writing workshops for students specifically targeting essay writing for the application. So we're hoping that a few of those things with some new messaging will lead them to the application, to the completion of the application, which is the next thing I want to talk about. So one of the things I discovered after my first year, last year we had 1,090 students begin the application process. If we're about 20,000 students at Modesto Junior College, 18 to 20, that's less than 1%. Of those 1,090 students, only 278 actually completed the application. Dismal number, a very, very small number. Because we gave out 347 awards. So not all of those 278 even qualified for a scholarship, which means that multiple students received multiple awards. I'm gonna keep hitting that. So that's the red bullet there. It's a focus area. We knew that that was something within the foundation that we needed to focus on. If you look at our total awards, we gave over $300,000 last year, and you can see across a variety of schools. So those are all the schools represented. And you can see sort of the disproportionate amount sometimes between the number of scholarships that are available and the number of students who receive scholarships in that school. So all schools, we have 55 scholarships that are available to a variety of students from whatever, the school isn't important. Some of them have some very specific criteria. We awarded 91 students scholarships from those 55 categories. You can see ag is the next highest. We have 44 scholarships that are available in ag. 59 students were awarded. A lot of those scholarships give multiple awards. Restricted income. So there's been a lot of curiosity because the foundation did have a tremendous centennial campaign. Most of our funding comes in as restricted. Restricted income dollars, you can see this pie chart shows you where it comes from. 37% of our income, restricted income is for that category of all schools scholarships. The next largest, they correspond obviously with the number of scholarships on the previous slide. 18% agriculture, 16% fitness and health professions, and that's primarily nursing scholarships. 12% the arts, performance, and humanities. Our unrestricted income, you can see that 42% of the income the foundation receives is from our management fee. Right? That is the management processing fee that we take on scholarships and other donations that are restricted. That, of that 42%, 54 of it is salaries and operations. So we survive off of the management fee that we charge for scholarships and other donations that come in. Pillar 2, program development and support. One of the areas that we found, both through this strategic planning process and just in sort of an overall assessment of the donors and scholarships and things we have in the foundation, is that we need to make that personal connection. Donor cultivation, donor appreciation, donor recognition is all critical. That helps us to build our portfolio. It helps us to increase the number of scholarships we have. And so we realized that that needed to be a goal and a focus area of the foundation. And sorry, I didn't know the 5-slide rule, so I have lots of slides. I will hurry. One of the things we do for program development and support is our Pirate Microgrant program. So we have student Pirate Microgrants and faculty and staff Pirate Microgrants. We have revamped the Pirate Microgrant system. The intent behind the original Pirate Microgrants was started by a faculty member who had a relationship with a student, saw that student sliding, didn't understand why, had a conversation with the student in which the student expressed, I can't get to school. The tires on my bike, flat, I have no money for tires. Fundraiser later, there was a sort of a pot set aside of money for emergencies, true student emergencies. That has gotten away from the donor intent, and one of the things that I've done in my first year at the foundation is really look at what is our donor intent. Are we honoring that? Are we being good stewards of the dollars we are gifted? So we've revamped our student Pirate Microgrants to make sure that that is truly the intent, and it is for student emergencies. With our faculty and staff Pirate Microgrants, what we want to do is be able to support faculty or staff who are working with groups of students, right? So we want to make sure that student experiences are enhanced and that some groups are able to do that through a little bit of assisted funding from the foundation. Third pillar, community outreach. One of the things we found through the community survey that the group that we had working with us on strategic planning found, serious lack of understanding about what the foundation is and does. So we want to do some clarifying messaging on what the foundation does and what it does not do, and how we support and complement the college. You know, things we don't do, we don't get involved in curriculum. We don't make, recommendations for programming. We support programming. So it's a subtle distinction, but we want to make sure that our constituents understand that and know it. So some of our goals for this year, we want to increase the number of students applying for scholarships, increase the number of completed applications, increase the number of awards, increase the number of dollars awarded. In our second pillar, we would love student Pirate Microgrants to become a sustainable funding. Right now, we're using Finish Line emergency funding to support Pirate Microgrants. no guarantee that that's sustainable. So we'd like to make it sustainable. We'd like to increase our donor connections. Third pillar, we would like to increase our number of community collaboratives that are impacting MJC students. We want to be very intentional and strategic about the partnerships that we form with the community. And we want to focus on innovation, education, and student engagement. So what's next? Connecting with our community. And there are a few critical endeavors that I've become involved in through as part of the foundation, the CBio initiative. So that is a very strategic initiative with which the foundation wants to be involved, because the circular bioeconomy industry sector is supported by the STAN 2030, which is the next one down, but it is also a huge area of importance for economic development in this area. It will impact our students as they are the next generation to be involved in that economic development. It is creating a bioeconomy. We have a huge agriculture base, we have a huge agriculture program, so we really need to be at the forefront of this initiative. STAN 2030, same thing. They're looking at the economic development and growth of this area. We need to be at the table. As an advisory board member to the STAN 2030, I have a seat at the table, and I can say areas of alignment with the college, areas of need that the college has, and places where we can strategically place students in employment. Articulated Pathways, or EC3, is a 3-segment partnership looking specifically at funding across the segments and the disproportionately low amount of funding through state and federal grants that goes to the community college sector. So there's some serious work being done there out of Fresno to realign these priorities and maybe redefine some of the ways that these larger funding state and federal agencies look at the community college segment. Articulated pathways are critical, connecting our students in that pipeline to industry, from education to industry, whether it's a certificate pathway, advanced degree pathway, or straight into the workforce through some CTE partnerships. Student support, so those are the endowments I promised to talk about. We have 2 endowments that have just hit the foundation, which are fantastic. Save the date, December 5th, 5 to 6, we will be unveiling $1 million donation from the Alicia H. Shepard Estate, supporting our journalism, which is now our FTVE program. So we will be dedicating the production studio to Alicia Shepard, and I have just, yesterday, we have a $2 million endowment coming for agriculture. So there are people out there who are supporting and engaging with the foundation to support our students, and there are some great and impactful things that we can do. The final thing I'd like to talk about, Innovation Mobile Lab. So the National Ag Science Center was a small nonprofit in town which sunset. I was part of that organization. In the sunsetting, the mobile classroom that you can see up at the top was gifted to the junior college. It is, you can see from the second picture down, it is set up inside as a lab. We would like to turn that into a mobile innovation education lab. What better way to engage with our community and get our K-12 students to understand why they want to come to Modesto Junior College than to show up on their campus or at their events with a mobile innovation lab. So that's a little bit about the foundation. Any questions?
I have several.
Our annual fund goal changes every year. So coming off the campaign, we were at 10.4. We haven't talked specifically this year about setting a goal. 10.4 million was the Centennial campaign. Annually, we hope to raise at least what we give out in scholarships. We gave out a little over 300,000. Yeah.
And how many plays do you have in fundraising?
4.
And what are the methods you use to raise money? Is there direct mail? Is there call-a-thons? Are there special events?
We support fundraising, specifically special events, through all of the schools. We don't do a foundation-specific event. We do direct mail, we do newsletter, we do, we're doing some new donor cultivation, so some outreach specifically to donors with some targeted asks. We will do spring mailers, we do an employee giving campaign, so we do a number of different methods to reach out. I am looking at sending out some of the information that was in this PowerPoint as an impact report. Haven't decided whether we're combining that with a newsletter or not.
And finally, do you do anything special with the athletic department for fundraising?
We support what they do. So they're trying a number of different things, and part of what I'm trying to do as the executive director of the foundation is work with groups, because what I have found, and coming from a nonprofit, a small nonprofit who relied completely on fundraising, What I found that right now, what we tend to do at the college is this much. We want to knock out a quick fundraiser and we want to just, maybe we've got uniforms to buy or, new equipment. So we aim here when we should be aiming here. And so what I've been trying to do is support the departments in how they can grow capacity in their fundraising and try some different strategies and really work with the foundation to make some targeted appeals, but to broaden the scope of their fundraising efforts.
That was a great segue. So I want to, thanks, Emily. This was fantastic. I want to dig into the support fundraising at the schools. My understanding is that support comes with a cost and that the foundation gets a percentage. So I'd like to hear more about that. And then I'd like to know how much of that support and the percentage generates in a year, and then what do those departments or what do those schools get in return? I'd just like more detail on the supporting the fundraisers at the department level.
Sure. So the foundation takes a 4% one-time donation fee on all restricted donations. So that supports the foundation operations, all of the work that goes into handling the funds that come into the foundation. All the funds are held with the business office. There is a one-time annual management fee of 1.8% for any funds that roll over a fiscal year, 1.8. That is part of what that management fee chunk is. And it varies, obviously, depending on, any given year. That management fee depends on what the size of our endowments are, because we also hold accounts for the schools. When they have fundraisers, they can hold money in the foundation and we hang on to that until they need it and expense it out. So Ag, for example, had a huge holding with the foundation, which they just spent about half of prepping for their harvest party. So the balances fluctuate quite a bit. If the foundation is co-sponsoring with a school because there's alcohol involved, that's the primary reason that the foundation co-sponsors, because we're the only ones that are allowed to bring alcohol to an event. If we co-sponsor with a school, we take 5% of their net from the event. And that goes to all of the foundation support. So for example, harvest parties coming up next weekend. The foundation has created the landing page. The foundation takes all of the donations. The foundation's coordinating all the tickets. The foundation does all of the auction items in kind. We send out all the tax ID letters post-event. So there are a number of things that the foundation does in order to support any of the schools that are doing fundraising efforts. And it varies, some are big, some are small.
Super helpful. Generally speaking, can you share how much through the 4%, the 5%, the 1.8%, like what did that mean over the course of a year?
$120,000, $130,000.
Awesome, thank you.
Just depending on the year and the size of the endowments. A couple new big endowments will help us out. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Columbia College Student Housing Report by Vols Company.
Thank you all for having me here, and it's an exciting time, and you're at the end of a 40-year ground lease at Columbia College with the student housing. So we are here, and we've been exploring quite a bit, so I want to walk through different options because as of August of next year, the district will own all the improvements, all that really wonderful housing that is up at Columbia College. So thank you for having me here. This is just, as I shared, showing you what we're looking at, what type of analysis we've done, and all the work that's been performed. We've really appreciative. I know we worked with all of you on the student housing grant very closely with Dr. Tran and Trevor and their teams. And then since probably about last March or April, have been really honed in too on your existing housing and what do you do? This is a tremendous opportunity for your students. And it's fun to follow the foundation because a lot of this will tie in too, and how this can, depending on which way you all choose to go, it will be a benefit to your students no matter what, as it is today. So in case, if there's anyone in this room that has not been up to Columbia College, it's nice housing, and I really appreciated Dr. Tran and Trevor taking me through. A couple of my colleagues were here, and we've had a facilities condition assessment performed. So we have 48 units. They're all 2-bedroom apartments. They have been maintained well. We will find out when we get the results of the facilities condition assessment if there's anything hiding behind those walls. But from all visual inspections and from our engineers, it does not look like we are going to have any surprises. So as I mentioned, next August 17th, you are now owners of student housing. So, and of course your facilities opened, 40 years ago in 1984. So different options that we're looking at, they're closely related, but we wanted to share with you what these are, and then I'll walk through a little bit of risk and control and value and how we're assessing the different options. Of course, we can, as of next August, you all can own the property. And there wouldn't be any transfer of ownership. The ground lease provides it right back to the district. We could also set up a new auxiliary. We've had a lot of conversations with the Columbia College Foundation and their board, and 2 members are on the housing task force. So there is a lot of consideration right now for the foundation at Columbia College to take over the ownership of the housing. And they would most likely set up some type of separate new auxiliary to remove them and shield them from really the direct risk. We could also go out, and this is common as well in student housing, is to a 501c3, a not-for-profit. We're starting to shed it just a little further, but I'll get more into that, but that's another option too. And then we can also too, it's not a renewal, but we could have a fairly similar relationship to what we have now and find another developer. There's been interested folks that have already been contacting the college. And nobody owns the land. The district always owns the land. So whenever I say ownership, it's just the improvements, the housing itself. So they could take over the ownership. So how do we look when we're looking at ownership options? Is we look at risk control value, whether it's taking over as here we have an existing ground lease or brand new construction as well. So let's go right to risk, which is always the scariest one, is if next August you are the absolute owner, you have all the risk, of course. So if anything happens on the property, if there becomes a big financial liability, certainly lawsuits, et cetera, of course it's right on, you have, and we've been working very closely with Lozano Smith, and we'd make sure you're protected as much as you can be. But of course, it is directly tied to you. It's also directly tied not just from a legal perspective, but it's a liability, or it could be positive to your credit impact as well. But you are that owner, so it will be on your accounting statements. So if the foundation takes over the property, they of course are bearing quite a bit of the risk. As I mentioned, there would be a legal transaction with a new auxiliary that would shield as much as we can, working with tax consultant as well as your legal counsel. So, but there is risk, you're very one and the same, of course. It's the same mission, et cetera. So a risk to your foundation is essentially a risk to the district and the college. So as I mentioned too, if we separate it to a 501c3, there certainly is the risk that if that 501c3, though they're a not-for-profit, they will have required thresholds of return, they will have administrative fees. So we are at risk for a lot more of the operating costs, which will go into the control when we can't control as much too. So, but we're shedding it further away though from us, because now it's not on district, it's not on our own foundation. That risk is sitting out there with a special purpose 501c3 entity. And of course, if we bring in private developer again, and they are taking on really the most risk. So this goes from the most risk and all the way to the right is the least risk if we go with these different options. So they tend to just build from going down for less risk. But what is also important, these are your students. And it was so neat to hear from them earlier in the camp program. And it's just, that's why I love coming to, I love my work. So we certainly want to control the student experience. I mean, that's why you're all here. So, but I'm not encouraging you to take any of these options. It's just from the left to the right, we have the most control of the student experience at Columbia College. So, of course, it's stating the obvious. If you own the housing, you make all the decisions. So what we want to do, and a really strong student housing is not intended to shelter students only. It's certainly, and I've been doing this for 20-some years, these are proven outcomes, not my opinion. With a strong student residential life program, it's really intended to, even what we heard earlier, but even the student that couldn't, when their bike breaks down, we hear that, and they drop out of school because they don't have a way to get to school anymore. So, but even beyond that, but that residential life programming, that control, that's really what a student residential community, its intention all across the country and even at your other community colleges in California. So if we are if we are having the foundation own our housing, is we share the same mission. So you will have a governing board in place that would include the district and the college and of course the foundation. So really rents, capital improvements, student res life, marketing materials, who is eligible, who's prioritized to live in the housing. We're working at Santa Rosa Junior College, Napa Valley College. I mean, these are important decisions and you would all be making them collectively together. But you are in business with your foundation. So you have slightly less control because you do have another entity in business with you. Of course, as we go further along and we've shed some of that risk to a special purpose not-for-profit entity, we're now in business with, again, I'm sure they'd be very closely aligned with your mission, but they are not your foundation. So we start to have a bit of less control. They're also going to have, as I mentioned, those thresholds. We can't just say, we're not going to raise rents this year, because they may have thresholds that require at least maybe a 3 to 5% rent increase. And of course, you're most likely going to have to raise rents a bit to keep everything always financial, at least break even. And then of course, if we shed all the risk to a private developer, which is a lot of what you have right now, is we do lose a lot of that essence of control. If they do have a financial liability, they may have to all of a sudden come back and raise rent significantly. We just wouldn't have as much control, and that's fair. They're not doing anything wrong because we've shed that risk, so we do have to shed some of those decision-making abilities. And as I mentioned too, these are close together. They're not extremes, but just want to share all the decisions that go into this. Value. What are we getting? I mean, that's too, even in real estate finance, a lot of times you're solving for bottom line. But we're always looking for what is the value to the student. So it's always interesting looking at all the aspects from management to financials and so forth. It's what is the student getting from this? What's the college? What's the district? Be it recruitment, retention, basic needs. We spent a lot of time on our low-income affordable housing. So what is that value? And we've been working a lot on the strategic objectives for the housing. So of course, is the value to the students, and this goes back to the control, is all those programming, all those decisions, who we want to prioritize, that's a big value. And working closely to go to the second one with your foundation and two very mission-aligned, very intertwined entities working together There's a lot of value to that. There's a lot of value too is I keep hitting this little one here, keep my hands down, there's a lot of value to there's a financial return, I should mention that too. So even just hearing the previous report we don't want this to, at least it needs to financially break even. But even keeping our rents pretty affordable, as long as we don't come back with big surprises from the facilities condition assessment, we shouldn't have to put in a lot of capital improvements. So certainly want to put in, it needs a refresh. But that cash flow then too could revert back to the foundation to go towards its residual cash flow to go for whatever we want the foundation to use that money to support your students. It could even be scholarships to provide to students that are most in need of shelter. It's one way a lot of folks use it, but it could go to scholarships for students that cannot afford to come to college. So that's really discretionary funds. With the 501c3, we would still get, of course, that residual cash flow back, but there's a fee. I mean, they're a 501c3, and there are administrative costs that are going to be more than any of your foundation would cost. So there's a little less value because we're giving up a lot of that. Again, a little less risk, a little less control, and a little less, so it all ties in together. And then, of course, what's the value of a private developer? We're shielding ourselves a lot. There's risk in any real estate we own, even our own homes, there's a risk. So we're shedding that off, so there is value to that. Should we choose that we are okay with giving up a bit of that student experience and all that control and on the financials? But we also know that we're shielding ourselves as much as we can. I mean, no matter what, these will be, as they always have been, these are Columbia College students living in housing. So whatever happens to go wrong, and things happen in student housing, I mean, it happens in market rate housing, they are going to be Columbia College students no matter what. And you're all going to get the phone calls, and your college will be the name in the papers. And that's just no matter who owns it. So those are, I know that was a lot, and there's spreadsheets that go behind these, and there are bi-weekly conversations, weekly calls with the college right now. So a lot of time and energy. The Housing Task Force Committee has been so involved in speaking with the board several times. Got a follow-up call with them, I think on Friday or Monday. But where are we at? So as I mentioned when I first started of course, we did the market research when we did our work with all of you last fall and last, it was really November, December, January, February, and we just updated too. We just want to see what's going on in the market. Where else are your students living? What type of rents are they paying? What are they being offered? And make sure that we're providing value. You don't have a lot of other options for your students. It's a lot of times we'll have an extensive list, and of course, being in a remote environment, that list is limited. We were out here for 2 full days, and really appreciate the district and the college for taking a lot of their time too and walking every single unit. Really appreciate the on-site management company for giving us all that access. So we've gone through, we have a full inventory of what is in each unit, the furniture. It's a mix of heating and cooling units. We've got all those inventoried, et cetera. So, and then we will get those results. They could be literally sitting in my inbox right now. So we will know very soon what that will look like. And based upon that, what capital improvements? Some are quite obvious, what we need to do. There's some ADA that we certainly want to improve. The laundry, you have to walk down 10, 12 stairs. We have a student resident there, and it's very lovely. They do the laundry for this person because there is no way to access it. So there's some improvements that do need to be made that you can certainly see from the visible eye, and they're just obviously doing the right thing for our residents. So we're going to develop that capital improvement plan, get costing for all of us so we can see how that fits in too. We've run a lot of pro formas. We were just on a call with the foundation on Monday walking through the pro formas. The district and the college have seen them. And of course, that capital improvement plan will affect that as well. They all do, with very conservative numbers, provide a cash flow back, and conservative, and low rents too. So, as I mentioned, we've been in the preliminary analysis, and we're developing, this is really the planning phase right now, through the end of the year. Our goal, as long as it works for all of you, is to really make, after the first of the year, the implementation. It's going to go fast. We need renewals, we need marketing. No matter which one of these that you set up, a closer relationship with the college and the housing. Your housing has been quite successful, and there actually hasn't even been joint marketing. So a lot of those implementation decisions, you start renewals typically about a year ahead of time in student housing. It's not typically market rate where it's a couple months out. So we want to start getting, so that's why our intention is to be back with all of you, as long as you'll have us, in January with a recommendation for your consideration on one of these four, or maybe a slight variation of them, but that's been very fully vetted through with the district, the college, and the foundation. So next steps is just what I mentioned, and would certainly be the January board meeting. That was a lot of information. Any questions, comments, things we should think about?
Ms. Foles, obviously, this is what you do. You founded a company. You're a professional. You've been speaking to Dr. Tran and her staff. I know it's early, but do you favor one of these models for Columbia over others? Is there one? And I know that's going to come out further, but I'm just curious, your initial reaction, which direction would you be leaning to?
I appreciate that. And from what I have seen, even 30 years of working, but 20 in student housing, is it's very common for the foundation to own student housing. You're way ahead of the game. I mean, public-private partnerships have been around a long time, but in the early 2000s, they were really picking up. And a lot of the four-year universities across the country have their foundation, the ownership. That is really, if I had to stand here tonight, I'm not trying to influence any decision making, we haven't fully vetted it, that or the college, especially knowing if we really thought that you were going to have to put a lot of investment up front into your housing, it could make the other two options seem much more appealing. And you do have a new roof as of 3 or 4 years ago. That's always a big hit to the cash flow, but that's where I would lean.
So I'm sorry, your last remark, the roof was redone?
It's been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Because I was up there like 4 years ago and it was needing to be redone.
Okay, then maybe it's last 3 years. Yes, it's been very recently that they did put a new roof on it.
Okay, great.
So, a question for you. What you didn't mention, or something we would consider, is duration. Like, how long would the agreement? We had a 40-year, right, situation before. What is there? Would this just be perpetual, or would we have an agreement with the foundation or the special nonprofit or the developer? Is there a time frame?
Sure, that's a great question. You will not have to go into a 40-year relationship again. We do want to get some consultation on the effects of that duration of the lease, but I would think we're looking at 10 to 15 years.
And when the analysis comes back, and let's imagine there's some capital improvement, you mentioned the ADA as one. Now that would be on the college or on the district prior to let's say we were going with a private developer. They would say, you're going to take care of the facilities before we come in. Or is there ever an agreement? No, we're going to share this cost with you.
So the intention right now, should there not be anything drastic, would be that the improvements would be made starting in August. So because the improvements that we think need to be made can be made while, it's never ideal, but while we have occupied units, the siding, new paint. You have right now a unit that's being used as storage. One thought, we're not there yet, but would even bring to put the new, a lot of times you have a service to bring in the washers and the dryers. So we can have occupied units at that. There are some startup costs though, there would be some staffing costs. There might be some minor capital improvements to stand up a website, marketing materials. So between now and August, there would be what we would maybe want to call pre-owner, pre-opening, if you want to call it that, expenses.
Yes, and my final question for tonight is, from your experience, in situations where it's owned by the college or the district or by the foundation, how often does it occur that there's a shortfall in the revenue and the college winds up subsidizing the cost?
So that's a great question. So there can be a shortfall, of course. I mean, this is real estate, et cetera. You're much more at risk, and I'm not trying to be positive here, but you're much more at risk when you have debt service on a property. So that happens, and there are a lot of agreements out there that absolutely the district has to backstop, because a lot of times, let's say if you're going out for $40 million in debt financing, is the foundation most likely doesn't have that balance sheet to attract the investors that you need, so the district has to be the backstop. A lot of times what you can do in that situation, which hopefully we don't have to take out $5 million, $10 million worth of improvements, you can set that all up in the project financing.
I guess my question is,
Yeah, sure.
the rents aren't coming in, but bills have to be paid. Who covers it?
And that would most likely have to be, if it's your foundation, backstop by the district.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're up to association reports. Do we have Alexander Jukes from Associated Students of Columbia College?
So that's the report that I mentioned to you
Oh, that you're going to read
a
if
little bit
it's
earlier.
Oh, okay.
It's about a page and a half, so I don't know if you,
You could email it to us.
okay. As I was looking at it, he speaks about a costume contest that occurred, mentions the Ponderosa Pantry pop-up events. They're looking to pilot adding school supplies and speaks about a few other events, so just wanted to give you a highlight.
If you would forward that to all of the trustees, we'll read it. That would be great. Thank you. All right, and is ASMJ, yes, you are. ASMJC President Ruth Perez Gamboa.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Chancellor Young. ASMGC has had quite the month. October was packed full of events, community outreach, and leadership development. Since last we met, ASMGC had the opportunity to attend the 2023 California Community College Affairs Association Leadership Conference in San Francisco. We had the privilege to hear from a couple of keynote speakers, beginning with Dr. G.T. Reyes and Charles Sasaki. Along with keynote speakers, there was also workshops that focused on shared governance, creating community, representing students, representing the voice of the students, and one of my favorites was the Brown Act and Robert's Rules of Law workshop. This year's theme was Building Bridges. This conference is a great opportunity for our team to get to know the ins and outs of what it takes to be an associated student. We also had the opportunity to network with many students from across the state and learn the structures and dynamics of their associated students and share experiences as student leaders. Overall, it was an amazing opportunity and a great learning experience. We did not slow down as we returned to our second annual Community Haunted House that was held here on our West Campus. Thank you to our team for their amazing job. We broke many records in many ways. Our setup for our haunted house was completed in 3 days right before our departure for our conference, as well as hitting a record 1,118 attendees throughout the night. A special thanks to our coordinators, Campus Life Program Specialist, Carmen de la Cruz, ASMJC Vice President, Javier Hernandez Loza. Thank you both for your time and making this event possible for our community and student body. As we begin November, we continue to host our outreach informational tables in the quad on our East Campus every first and third Tuesday of the month. As I conclude, I would like to add that ASMGC stands in support of the addition of Native American Day and the Cesar Chavez Day to the academic calendar for the foreseeable future. Have a wonderful evening.
Next up, we have CSEA President Patrick Krebs. Hello.
Good evening, President Biggs, fellow trustees, and Chancellor Young. CSEA leadership would like to extend our support in the formation of the Classified Senate here at MJC. CSEA is happy to see classified voices growing in the shared governance of YCCD. We look forward to working hand in hand with the Classified Senate at Columbia and now, hopefully soon, at MJC. CSEA members are in the process of voting on ratification of the tentative agreement that was passed by the board last month. Earlier today, we had our monthly chapter meeting where we took nominations for next year's executive board. Next month, I should be able to announce the 2024 executive board officers. On behalf of CSEA 420, I would like to offer all veterans of this great nation a sincere thank you for their service. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Next, we have faculty liaison to the board, Alan McKissick.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to address you. On Monday, I attended the Board Policy Committee meeting. Among those present were MJC Academic Senate President Flores and Senate Vice President Soleil. As usual, the committee was an excellent venue for collegial discussion. The faculty leaders present definitely thought so. I was especially impressed with the give and take and discussion of some sensitive issues and extensive collaboration on wordsmithing on district policy drafts. It's not something trustees are required to do, but their obvious commitment to doing it reflects well on collegial governance in our district. In the same vein, I know some trustees plan to visit meetings of faculty associations, and I hope all the rest of the board will do so in the not too distant future. I know such visits and such conversations are well received. Lastly, I wish to note the discussion I had earlier today with Trustee Garrett on a variety of issues. His extensive background in local government and collective bargaining is a valuable resource to everyone, and I always learn something and hear useful perspectives I probably would not hear elsewhere. To conclude, the board's commitment to accessibility and collegiality has been much evident, and I hope the board keeps up the good work. Thank you again for this opportunity to address you.
Thank you. Any comments? No? Okay. Up next is, there's no report from Marcus Wisenant, so we are up to MJC Academic Senate with President Giselle Flores.
First of all, have we always clapped or is that new? Because
it's new. It's new.
It's a lot of pressure. So, okay. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Chancellor Young. I would like to echo my colleagues' statements. I really did enjoy the discussion at the board policy meeting and really did appreciate the opportunity to do some wordsmithing and just the collegial conversation that ensued. So I did appreciate that a lot. I'm also excited to report that the Senate has passed several important documents for second reads over the past month. Our updated program review document and instructions were passed, and the timeline has been finalized for faculty to start on this process in early spring. We also passed our institutional self-evaluation report, which is a giant step forward in our accreditation process. Additionally, we passed Resolution FA23C, resolution to delay dropping of students, and the ELW program for non-payment of fees. We had a presentation from Campus Safety about post-training that turned into a 45-minute conversation about the need for a campus-specific safety plan. We look forward to the board calling for the advisory committee required before post-training can move forward. We have also restarted the work on the CCAP procedures document and have started a new work group to discuss and create guidance on the topic of AI. Or we can just use AI to create the guidance and call it a day. It was wonderful to see that Native American Day and Cesar Chavez Day are on the calendar being voted on today. In response to our questions, faculty have been assured that the inclusion of these holidays will not negatively impact apportionment and will go a long way in affirming the Latinx and Indigenous community we serve. We held our first New Faculty Friday in collaboration with the Office of Instruction last week, and it was a great opportunity for the faculty who joined to connect and get to know each other outside of what our roles are at work. We shared lots of laughs and stories, and we received great input on what professional development topics would be helpful at future New Faculty Fridays. And if any of the board would like to attend any of those, I'm sure we'd love to have you and really get the new faculty familiar with our board as well. On the topic of professional development, I would like to thank our amazing executive administration team for committing to an investment for the annual Faculty Professional Development Institute. Dr. Redwing, Dr. Schrader, Dr. Wilson, and Dr. Sanders, faculty greatly, greatly appreciate your support. While I typically like to end my report on a positive note, I feel it is important to share the frustration among faculty with the continued senior administrative turnover. The administrative team we currently have has been one of the strongest we have seen in years and have provided the stability and genuine care for our institution that we have been longing for. Now that faculty know that this will not be a team that continues, I have received several messages of concern about the future of our college. Instability creates barriers for completing important work that needs to be done in a short period of time. Faculty are seeking answers that need to come from the top before trust continues to dwindle. I do appreciate your time, and this concludes my report.
Okay, next up we have LTAC President Jillian Daly.
Good evening, Chair Beggs and members of the board. Let's see, I have 4 items tonight. The first one is regarding leadership team professional development. We look forward to our all-day retreat, December 18th at the Peterson Event Center in downtown Modesto. The final program is still in progress, but so far includes a session on contract updates, especially recent changes to the CSEA contract, new EEO and recruitment guidelines, and an introduction to BRIC training. A couple of months ago, I let the board know that we are going to receive FRISC training, progressive discipline training, but FRISC is now BRIC, and that means background, rule, impact, consequences, and knowledge. So that's just a little highlight of some of the things we're going to learn next month.
Can you say that slower? Background, rule.
BRIC is background, rule, impact, consequences, and then knowledge.
Thank you.
And I need to Google it also, Chair Beggs. All right, so next, a couple months ago, I let the board know that the leadership team at both colleges were engaged in reading the book that was recommended by President Tran, entitled Ruthless Equity, Disrupt the Status Quo and Ensure Learning for All Students by Ken Williams. And so I'm happy to report at MJC, new directors and deans have formed work groups who lead discussions on the book every 2 weeks. At Columbia, leadership team members have met to discuss the book over wine tasting. So I'll let the board decide who has the better discussions. In focusing on the subject of equity and how to achieve it, one of the most important precepts discussed in the book is the need to create a culture of belonging that welcomes students, teammates, and everyone who enters the learning space, be it the classroom or the college as a whole. The book asks To what extent to which students and staff members feel they belong to the college. It asks us how we can begin to measure belonging and how to disaggregate data surrounding the subject and need. And then how can we be intentional to nurture a sense of belonging for all students? This subject especially speaks to the deans at MJC who created the Dean's Vision Statement, which has now been adopted this year by MJC, which is belong, learn, thrive. Thus far, we've had great and very insightful conversation. So the next item, I wouldn't be doing my duty as president of the LTAC if I didn't include the reclassification study in part of my board report. The LTAC has agreed to work with HR to develop a process to evaluate internal equity between positions and salary ranges through the possible development of rubrics. And so what we have done well for reclassification is we have a cohort across the Central Valley and looking externally at comparable job positions and marketability and where the salaries are. Where we need work is looking holistically within YCCD in terms of number of ranges between positions and scope of the job, responsibilities, education, that's what we're having conversations about, is what do we look at to create that internal equity within YCCD. For example, there were 30 existing director positions, but 20 additional director positions have recently been created in the past several years. With an analysis of just required education experience, we saw positions at range 32 that require a master's, positions at range 36 and 38 only requiring a bachelor's. So it's clear a thorough holistic view of how we determine salary range within YCCD is needed, and LTAC looks forward to working closely with HR on this subject. In the meantime, though, the effects of the reclassification for all those directors being completed this year will encroach on the salaries of senior directors and deans in year 4, which is already problematic. I'll focus on the senior director of IT position. This position has had 4 failed recruitments, and according to the ACA salary comparison, it's currently about $60,000 below median in annual salary, and salary cut has been the main barrier to hiring. As this position is in year 4 of the leadership team reclassification process, raising the salary range is not possible. That leaves updating the job description as the only process to create competitive salary for a leadership team position outside of the reclassification cycle, and precisely why there are so many current salary placement problems within the team as new positions are created and placed at marketable salaries. Salary inversions are created for existing positions languishing at much lower ranges. There are only 24 positions in year 4. Once again, I urge the board to approve a thorough, holistic process by allowing us to review year 4 at the same time as review all the director positions, especially at a time when we are recruiting 3 new deans at MJC. And then my last is just a short report from Columbia College, and it comes from Annika Rogers-Whitmar, who is Director of Special Programs. The transfer team is a tri-chair model committee under the Student Success Council led by Annika. Other leadership team members heading the committee include Michael Igo, Director of Student Services, and Amy Nilsson, Director of Outreach and Development. This tri-chair committee and all its members is an excellent example of how the shared governance approach can be both highly efficient, working towards the shared strategic college-wide goal of increasing transferring students' outcomes, and highly impactful to students' lived experiences. The transfer team is currently hosting Transfer Week with workshops led by counselors, and the main event tomorrow is the Transfer Fair with CSU, UC, out-of-state, and independent universities sharing their top reasons why students should apply to transfer to their campuses. So that's happening this week at Columbia College. Any questions?
No, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget to clap. Okay, next up is, I believe we have Dimitri filling in for Brian Green, is that correct? So YFA president, past president, Dimitri Kariotis.
Thanks. Good evening, President Biggs, trustees, Chancellor Young. Good to be back, albeit only for an evening. It's exciting to see our campuses buzzing again overall, and of late with a nice spring registration frenzy. Congratulations to both colleges for bringing students back to our respective campuses and back in general. Let's turn toward negotiations. All of YFA's proposals have now been submitted to the district's lead negotiator. The YFA team looks forward to receiving district's proposals and counterproposals, especially the one regarding parity, an issue important to both groups. And I understand Trustee Nicolau will be at the next YFA Representative Council meeting, and Trustee Davis plans to attend a REP meeting next semester. YFA welcomes such interaction with trustees, chiefly because we share countless common interests in our quest to serve students. That concludes my report. Any questions? Thank you.
5.5 with updates from the Chancellor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to begin by calling on Dr. Tran from Columbia College to give us the college report.
Thank you, Chancellor Young, President Beggs, board trustees, colleagues, and community members. Some quick updates. So for this week, it was great. We celebrated, well, last week, Halloween. We had a whole campus-wide trick-or-treat. People get dressed up, student. It was a joint affair between the student and the campus. And we have to say, facilities went all out with their haunted house. It was actually pretty scary. So there's video of that. So it was nice to see the spirit on campus of everybody come together, and there was contest. So that was a good thing. And in addition to that, we also had a workshop for all of our students called Fancy with Finance. So it really helped with bringing in the organization, bank, financial aid institution that show our students how to save, how to get good credit, how to keep up so that they get a nest, whether it's investing or getting ready for college planning. And it was well attended with all the community members. That was a good thing. And then also, we are very actively moving along our plan for the DEI. So after our opening with Tim Weiss, we also invited Dr. Regina Stroud back, and she worked with the campus. And from that, just yesterday, we got a 15-page summary of co-creating DEI at Columbia College. So I was really excited. Some of the suggestions in here. So our goal at the college is each month we will have, working with the Academic Senate, we're gonna do the Speak Your Life series. So Columbians like to know, since we're so isolated in our own area, we like to know what's out there. And so our faculty staff say, let's bring people in and hear their stories. So at our town hall each month, we will have guest speakers that would come and share about their history, so we get to see they speak their life. Simultaneously, we move our agenda working with the consulting firm that should come on campus for 4 hours and really do the workshop with us. So then the work start beginning on both, and obviously with the reading. So for that, we're really proud at Columbia moving along with our DEI initiative. So I'm excited for all the activities that's coming for that. And because of the uniqueness of Columbia College, we also was able to maneuver an opportunity. So there's an organization at the Chancellor's office. It's called the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative. And technically, this agency really helped a college to operate efficiently. So when I saw the proposal and the faculty came to me and say, Lena, can we really look at art, music, and theater? It's so meaningful to the region, and yet there's really hardly any grant that really scream that say from a chancellor's office or Sacramento that would fund for art, music, and theater. However, in the letter of interest, our team was able to put together a very compelling story and say, you know what? Columbia College is unique and giving that there's such a mental wellness of an urgency. Art, music, and theater has to be part of that equity or that closing the gap for our student to do well. So luckily, we got the proposal approved. So Columbia College will be able to roll out with $200,000 in grant funding, focusing just on art, music, and theater. And that could be in any capacity, whether we want to say expose post to art, music, to put on a play, or to develop a short-term certificate. So that is a great win for our faculty. And I think that was really good to be able to say, hey, this is unique to our community, and we got that. So that's a good thing. However, the biggest news, everybody, is that I've been talking about this grant for years since I came here, but I'm so proud of the work that we've done for the district, the region. We are one of, I think, only 4 or 5 actually districts statewide that is leading this $18.1 million. Columbia College is the fiscal lead for $18.1 million to build out healthcare, which include the nursing, the CNA, the medical assistant, you name it. And it's really starting from the K all the way to the community college, tapping to the UC and CSU. We also have the pathway for computer information and engineering. And the third one, which I think we're so excited, is because there's a teacher shortage, we're looking at education in terms of credentialing for teacher. And that is the 3 pathway that we'll be working with our partner, with the district, to roll out for the college and for the district-wide. So to me, that's all the exciting news at Columbia College, but we'll keep doing the hard work and great things are happening. And thank you for the support.
You're not going to mention the rankings of your college, or
We-
you're just being humble? I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's
right.
okay. I mean,
So in addition to that, we're very proud of our culinary arts program. It ranked 34 out of 140 of all culinary arts in the United States for community college. And we ranked 129 out of 922 of all the community college throughout the United States. But in California alone, Columbia College is ranked 28 out of 118. And this ranking happened just 2023 to 2024. And when you read the testimonial, it's truly, the students say, when I walk onto Columbia College, I feel that I am served, I'm important, and people really care. So those comments went a real long way for our staff, and we're very proud of that accomplishment. Like I said, it just takes the work of every single body on campus. So thank you for that, Trustee Davis.
oh,
And that's it. Then it's done. But I'll share.
Thank you, Dr. Tran. And now we'll have Dr. Red Wing to give us an update on MJC.
Good evening. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, President Beggs, trustees, district office, college, and colleagues for the opportunity to offer Modesto Junior College's November update. I would like to begin by humbly expressing my gratitude to each of you present for the opportunity to serve as interim president at MJC since February of this year. As many of you know, I'm being promoted to MJC faculty again next semester, and I look forward to the classroom. But I do want to say one thing first. I've grown in so many ways and to such depths that I can only begin with a sense of thankfulness for the opportunity to serve. It has been the honor of my career to represent each of you and all the great work that you do at this college each day that is often done in underappreciated ways. I wanted all of you to know that our leadership team will continue to be busy showcasing the great work we do here at MJC. From our recent visit by Assemblyman Juan Annalise to the 40th Annual Hispanic Education Conference, to our college Halloween festivities. It's been quite an October, and we only set off the smoke fog machine once during Halloween. Our Fire Academy had a successful accreditation visit, and our new cohort includes more than 30 students. The Google Vibe visited MJC as the Valley's Google Developers Group women's tech makers, and the founders of UDA put on quite a show at the DevFest Central Valley, the Future of Tech, and AI Unleashed. Also, as you can tell by some of tonight's presentations, it's Nonprofit November, and MJC would like to thank both our camp and foundation partners for their promotion of an education at MJC. MJC has done spectacular work during the month of October in EC3, a collaborative among community colleges, state universities, and UCs, housed at Fresno State, in which we are collaboratively working to develop a $10 million NSF grant meant to foster research and creative collaboration among community colleges, CSUs, and UCs. And MJC has not just participated in the Circular Bioeconomy Innovation Collaborative, a design, forum, and innovation showcase, but actually hosted it in our beautiful Science Community Center and Great Valley Museum. This CBIO collaborative is a diverse collaboration of to launch an innovation engine for the circular bioeconomy in the North San Joaquin Valley. The collaborative is currently in the midst of a design sprint to develop the region's proposal for a $160 million NSF Regional Innovation Engine proposal. And this MJC-hosted convening was an inspiring and critical milestone in shaping a shared vision for Valley leadership, the circular bioeconomy, and if I get my 2 cents, space agriculture. But don't get me started. Finally, shouts out to Professor David Dow, Professor of Music, who is right now in South Korea, performing an electrical music composition called Kol Vove. Thank you to Eileen Kerr and Eva Mo, history professors, who actually made the front page top fold of the Modesto Bee for Good News, and the work that our students did with historical archival and redlining in the Central Valley. Also, I wanted to mention Thelma Selman Saldivar. She's a MJC graduate, and her Letters from Home project that first began at MJC has subsequently received support from both the Stanislaus and the California Arts Council and other organizations. You should expect to see her in local museums everywhere in the world someday soon. Her Heartland Creative Corps grant is just the beginning. This concludes my report for November, a reflective Veterans Day, and a happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Redwing. Next, I'd like to share with all of you a quick update regarding the MJC presidential search. The committee has concluded reviewing the application materials, and the first level interviews are slated for next week. And I want to thank each and every one of the committee members who so generously agreed to serve and committed their time to the process. So, next item is our annual security report. Let me call on Roland Gallardo, the District Director of Public Safety, to share that information with all of us. It will cover MJC and Columbia College as well.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight on our YCCD annual security report. First of all, I have to thank my 2 managers. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. So Harry Davis from MJC and Glenn Caldwell from Columbia, thank you very much. I know I lean on you a lot and I push hard, but you stand up and you get the job done, so thank you very much. I want to start off also because it takes a lot of us, a team effort to get this done each year, and also everybody is involved in this, and I want to thank our students, our campus community partners, the facilities team, all the staff, all our administration, the professors, the senior leadership. Our entire campus community has contributed to this annual report, and it makes it a success. And you'll see by the numbers when I get into the PowerPoint what I'm talking about. Secondly, I would like to mention that a huge priority of mine and our team was to get our emergency preparedness into shape. We have made huge strides with that, Included in that are upgrades for the emergency notification system, camera upgrades, the fire alarm system, and training. And I look forward in the future to present on all of this to the board. I just want to have this slide here because it's very important. These are all the officers that work 24/7, 365 days a year to make sure that our campuses are safe. And they're a big part of having this annual report be successful each year. Our campus safety communication center is actually the hub, and it's the hub throughout the nation at all colleges and universities. This is where all the information comes through, and I just wanted to show it to all of you. The incident statistics and the annual report, I'm sure everybody has seen it. And like I spoke last year, it has a lot of information, but I'm just highlighting the important parts of it. Modesto Junior College completed 157 incident reports for the year of 2022. Columbia College completed 51 incident reports for that same year. Of the 208 reports throughout the district community, 2 incidents required Clery notification. And I just listed the type of incidents that are mandatory reporting. They're all listed here: criminal, homicides, sex offenses, domestic violence, so on and so forth. In 2022, there were only 2 Clery incident reports. An off-campus burglary offender was arrested on property with the assistance of campus safety and Modesto PD, and a motor vehicle theft. And again, these numbers are low. We're one of the safest community college districts in the state. And my thanks to everyone for getting this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Just a comment, you know, when you go to administrator school, one of the things they teach you that you have to have before you have anything else is a safe and orderly learning environment. Without that, the rest doesn't matter. And we just want to thank you for creating that, because that's essential for our students and their learning to happen. So thank you. Thank you and your team and for all the good work that you do.
Thank you all.
That concludes my report, Madam President.
I missed earlier that I believe Alan McKissick had a comment, and I'm sorry I didn't see you in time.
First, I want to commend the chief, because I've been in the room for conversations he's been having in the faculty associations, and I think he's handled an agenda of challenging topics and sensitive issues extremely well. But I was hoping to follow up Interim President Red Wing's report with a comment. And in the first place, having watched our whole situation from the beginning to the end of his tenure and what preceded it, I want to congratulate the Chancellor and the board for appointing Chad Red Wing as our interim president. It was a masterstroke. The immediate confidence and calm he inspired has only grown. Beyond that is an impressive record of accomplishment during his tenure. In the Faculty Association's meetings lately, there's been an outpouring of respect and gratitude for his service, and I wanted to convey that here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are up to an informational item, the travel report. So that's attached to the agenda. And now we're at 6.1.
I have a question on the consent. I don't want it pulled, but I was just curious. I noticed we spent $80,000 for a truck, and it seems like we bought not from a local dealership. And I was just wondering, is that because of some state thing, or did we approach a local dealership, or how does that work?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Richards. I will speak for fiscal, And I will mention that our fiscal services follows, what is that, the master contract from the state?
Correct.
And buys through the list, is that right?
We do buy off a list that has the government pricing. We do try to go local, and when those dealerships can assist us, then yes, sometimes we have to go out of the area.
With that, I'll move approval of the consent items.
Second.
Were there any retirements this time, now that Darren is not
There
here?
were 3 retirements, yes.
There are. Would you like to do that? Or would you like me to hold those over until?
Well, since they're tonight, I mean,
This is
I'm
Trustee
not on that
Garrett's.
page, but there were 3 retirements I noticed in the consent agenda. So, that would be something that Trustee Garrett really
Handles. for-
appreciates doing, so we can hold that for him.
I have the names. We have Barbara Adams, Professor of Communication, 18.5 years of service. And I'm sorry if thank you. How did you know? Cirillo Torres, 16.5 years of service, custodian coordinator for the graveyard at Columbia. And then we have our central services, I guess. And then Tina Trollier, 14.5 years of service, professor of psychology in art sciences and human performance. And we thank all 3 of them for their service and their time and their dedication. And we wish them a wonderful future. My husband is retired and he's kind of liking it, which shocks me, but he really is. So we thank you and we apologize that our regular retirement person was not here to say wonderful things. Yes?
There's a public comment, so she's.
I just had to get up here, not only because everyone behind me was whispering, say something about Barbara, but also because out of those 18.5 years of service, I think 18.5 of those years have spent as the chair of our curriculum committee. And so her work has been incredible, and her absence will be felt for sure. So I just wanted to get up here and say how much the faculty appreciate her service and her dedication to making our curriculum process wonderful. So.
Thank you. We should have a presentation on that sometime because I think a lot of us don't quite understand the involvement.
Well, Barbara retires in 2 months, so she can come out.
Yeah. Explain it to us, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm sorry, now I'm on the wrong page again.
We have to we have to get a second and vote.
Right, but I need okay, there it is. So the recommended action is that we approve items 6.2 through 6.15. It was the numbers I needed.
Yes, and I'll second that, and I'd also like to just
There was
mention.
already a second.
There was a second?
You have,
Oh, missed it.
Dr.
Well,
Richards.
then during discussion, I just want to thank the fiscal department for providing the quarterly report on the budget. Very helpful.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I seconded.
You did, okay, thank you, Jenny. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have a lot of pages to go through here. All right, 7.1. Board policy, first reading. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, President Beggs. Good evening, trustees, Chancellor Young. Before you, you have 7 policies for first reading, which have been provided, recommendations from the Board Policy Committee when they met on Monday. You have some revisions before you for policies 2430, 2430.1, 2431, 2432, 2740, and 2745. Also, at this November meeting, the Board Policies Committee's original recommendation was to request a pull policy 2725, which is board member compensation, to allow time for a legal review to determine if it is legally required for the district to include the stipend amounts in the policy. Thankfully, our legal counsel was right on it and was able to provide us with their legal opinion today, which I provided to you, and will also be available on board docs for the public. But before you, you have the recommendation from our legal, and they have looked into whether Ed Code Section 72024 requires compensation amounts to be included in the policy, and it is their legal opinion that it does not. So legal counsel is recommending that we revise the policy 2725 by removing the compensation amounts and adding general references to Ed Code Section 72024. And I will just bring it up so the public can see some of the changes here. In this way, if changes are made to the policy, if changes are made to the compensation, which the board considers every December to increase their stipend amounts up to an amount of 5%. If a change is approved in December, there's no need to bring the policy back every time to correct the compensation amount. So that has been additional revision that has been placed on your dais, as well as put up here. Let me bring it down a little bit here, just so you can see.
Thank you. And then is this still going to be posted as part of the HR?
The HR site is for the employee on their salary side. So my understanding is that because it is on the agenda every December, if the board, that amount will be listed. And if the board approves that, that will be something that the public can then go to and see what the amount is.
Okay, good.
But the recommendation from legal is to take the amounts out.
Yes. Nancy?
And just so that people are aware, one of the main reasons of doing this is because it doesn't become the right number until just shortly before we're going to change it again. Because we, go in, we look it over, and we're like, okay, we have to change it to this amount. So this way, by not having it there, we're not in error the whole year or 9 months out of the year. So it just made more sense, and anybody who wants to see what the amount that the board is making can see it through the HR site or no?
It's going to be it's an agenda item every December.
Okay.
Board member compensation is considered, the board requested it to be brought before for consideration every December. So the board can vote to accept a 5% increase, or can choose not to, can choose to do a 2% increase if you would choose to do so. But
it can't be more than a 5%.
Yes, no more than 5%. Right.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
On regarding policy, it's 2745, the board self-evaluation, that policy revision, there's an added language regarding the board would receive input from, if I remember the language right, community members or received input. And I thought that where did that come from? Was that something that the committee thought, or was that language that was suggested from CCLC? And also, thinking if that's the case, what would the mechanism for that even be?
So referring to constituent.
Constituent, input.
Okay, constituency input will be welcomed in the board self-evaluation process. So some of the constituent group members were in the meeting on Monday. Previously, and if you've noticed in the main agenda, you all had read revisions that were striked out or added into the language. There were recommendations that were provided from Trustee Beggs initially for discussion. Other trustees can provide from the committee. So what we're starting to do is put those into the agenda packets and for the board. So what happened was the recommendation from Trustee Begg was to cross out constituent review and feedback will be sought in the board's self-evaluation process. And the comments from the constituent group members who were present was they would like to, that's a very important part. And so they through working with the committee, they were able to work out this language, which was constituency input will be welcomed in the board self.
And I guess it would be the mechanism for that input would need to be worked out, whether to do an exhibit or just, I don't know, figure it out as we go maybe. The other part of that was the summary provided at a public meeting. And my first time through the self-evaluation, I'll share this with the board, I didn't really understand the process. We got the instrument, we put in our thing, we made comments. Then I realized, oh, all those comments go public. I thought it was, our comments that we would share with each other and then come together and evaluate our work. And so, okay, that's all right now that I know. But the thing there is that when it's like a text or an email, you don't really know the context or the inference, and then people can read their own, attach their own motivation to whatever the comment might be. So I like the term, the summary, versus everything that goes out. So I just think as we approach self-evaluation in the future, we may look at the process so that it's helpful for us as we evaluate our governance team and our effectiveness. If we give a little thought into what do we do with one another's input and the constituent input as we kind of formulate, okay, this is how we're doing, how we believe we're doing and how we can improve our processes here. So just a summary is different than everything is public in my mind. So a little conversation about what does the process entail? What would be the mechanism of developing a summary or a public report? Am I making sense to you all on that? Yeah, okay.
Trustee Davis,
Yeah.
would the new language which is being proposed is a committee of the board may be appointed in March to determine the instrument or process to be used in board self-evaluation. So that group that you all would select would then be responsible for doing.
Okay, and I suddenly feel somebody's gonna say, you're on that committee now, and now you are, okay.
I'm not.
No, we have a policy committee.
It will be of the board committee.
All right.
How did you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that would be a good
Accept that.
place for that, though.
We can agendize it as a future discussion so that the board could,
Nominating Dawn.
for a future discussion.
Thank you.
Any other questions over these revisions? Okay, these will be updated and be brought back to the board for a second reading next month. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, because we don't vote on first readings, is 7.2 academic calendars. The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees adopt the 2024-2025 academic calendar for Columbia and MJC and tentatively adopt 25-26 and 26-27. Academic calendar is attached to the November 8th agenda. So I like the tentative because we keep talking about not having graduation for both colleges on the same night. But it's like daylight savings time. It never goes away, even if we don't want it. So, do I have a motion to accept the recommended action?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No? Okay. No abstentions, motion carries. Next up, we have 7.3, MJC Classified Senate Constitution and Bylaws. The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees approves the Modesto Junior College Classified Senate and its Constitution and Bylaws attached to the November 8th agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I just said it was well written.
Oh, thank you. All right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposition? Any noes? All right, motion carries. Next up is the CCAP agreements in 7.4. The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees takes comment from the public on the item. Do we have any public comments on this item? I see none.
So moved.
And, well, I have to say what it is first. Back off.
7:30.
The recommended action is that we approve the College and Careers Access Pathways CCAP partnership agreements for MJC attached to the agenda. All right.
No, I withdraw my motion since
Well,
I was.
I'll
this
move
is
for
with di-
approval, and this takes us to 21 agreements now, so
Yes.
great work, everyone, and just keep them coming, in my opinion.
And this one is with Denair Unified School
Mhm.
District and Gustine Unified School District.
Two fabulous school districts in our region.
So you have a
Excellent.
First from Dr. Richards, a second from Dr. Davis.
What?
I know.
No,
sorry.
the first from Dr. Davis, the second
Because I was representing.
is from Nancy
Second
Hinton.
from Nancy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I
Yeah,
said
if
it
you
out
could.
loud.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome. All right, we're up to 7.5, and Trustee Hinton is going to. Thank you.
Don't go far. So moved.
Second.
I'll have to read what it is.
Mm-mm.
The recommended action is that the Board of Trustees adopts the resolution in the matter of trustee absence from the board meeting attached to the November 8th agenda. And that is that we excuse Trustee Hinton for her absence from this special meeting of the Board of Trustees, which I think was about 4 minutes long.
If that.
If that, yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Did you catch that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. She's welcome back.
It's about as long as that meeting was.
Laughing at me.
Oh, that was.
I think it took longer than that meeting, yeah.
I'm like, 4 minutes? Okay, I remember now.
I know, it was a 5-minute meeting.
It was so short. I forgot what meeting it was.
I know. All right, next up is what? The Columbia College Educational Master Plan, 7.6. And the recommended action is that the Board of Trustees approves Columbia College's Educational Master Plan for 2024 to 2034.
So moved, with compliments to President Tran and her staff for putting together a really good report.
Second.
Plan.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, on that last one, who was the first and second? Jen?
I'm number 2.
Who was the first? Oh, I didn't see, sorry. Thank you.
All right. I think we're up to 10.1. I trust people will let me know if I skip something. We are at the request for future board agenda items. Do we have any? No? We have quite a few standing items from the past, so. Yes. Go ahead. Which one? I know we've asked for an update or well, not an update, but a look at all of the
I can share a list with the executive board.
Right.
next week, and
but I've asked for one on the technology, and I know there's issues because it's not totally manned right now, but just what all of the software is that we use, all the programs, all the overlap, how they're utilized, that kind of thing. And we also had in our strategic conversations, we talked about signage. So at some point, maybe we could get a follow-up on how signage is coming along, since people expressed some concerns about clarity when they come on campus and aren't sure where to go.
Exactly.
Any others right now? Okay. So now we're up to 10.2, comments from the Board of Trustees. I will start with Trustee Antonio. Thank you. Trustee Nicolau?
No comment.
No comments. Trustee Hinton?
Well, I'll break the
Thank you.
chain. I just want to appreciate those that were at our meeting on Monday. It was the first time that we were back solely in public. And so for the policy and procedure, it was nice to have people there and with great comments to make. So thank you, ladies, for being there. And gentlemen. Alan is just almost always there. We appreciate his input too. Definitely. And just look forward to and wanting to wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving and looking forward to December. And those of you that are going to brave it, Good Friday shopping isn't as exciting as it used to be, but I don't think I'll be getting up at 3 a.m. I might be going on my phone.
Yeah.
But anyways, you guys have a great holiday and spend time with family and friends because you never know.
That's for sure. All right, Dr. Richards?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing. Well, thank you very much for being here, and I also appreciate the guests at our, I hate to say guests, but for showing up at our meeting. It was a very collegial discussion, and I'm thankful for the dedication to our district. Thank you very much to Alan for always being involved in these policies that we take very seriously. Thank you very much. All right. We will be meeting next time on December 13th for the changing of the guard. And closed session will begin at 3, open session at 5:30 as usual. It will be here. This meeting is adjourned at 7:35.